All right, welcome to this latest edition of PAX Live on PAX News Facebook page. I'm going to give a couple of moments for Facebook notifications to kick in. We'll wait for folks to join in on the call as well. It is 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 11 o'clock in Alberta, where I'll be talking shortly with our guest, Glenda Beagle, which means 10 o'clock in BC, in the West Coast. So hopefully we got folks from all around and all across Canada on this call. Give it a couple more seconds before I switch over to Glenda. Hope everyone is well. Hope everyone is staying safe and is staying sane within this confinement, which is not an easy task. Hope you're all doing well wherever you are. All right, so it's been a little over a minute. I see people are joining. I see Catherine saying hello there on the feed. So let me go here and join Glenda. Okay. Hello, Glenda. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, this is our second edition we're doing of these Facebook Live for PAX. So my name is Frederick Gonzalo. I'm a PAX contributor, um, writing rather for the magazine. And so last week we had the pleasure of having Ming Tappan telling us about cruise travel. I see Ming is online. Hello, and hello to everyone else who's there as well. Glenda, you're a travel industry veteran who's been with 15 years experience on the front line. You had your own agency for a couple of years, and you're now the owner of Marketing Mainstream. Main Street. I keep saying Mainstream. Main Street. So you have a lot of knowledge with business owners, brick and mortar, home-based businesses on how to generate sales, increase customer base while reducing expenses. So you work with brick and mortar, but your background is from travel agency. So you obviously still work with a lot of travel agents. Yeah.
I do. I do. That's definitely where I started. I've always had a passion for marketing. When all the kids had the cool jobs in high school, I geeked out and interned for the Alberta government at a local museum in their marketing department because that apparently was what the really cool kids did. So
Well, that's cool. So, given the present context, I mean, the travel industry obviously has always been. People are jealous. You know, we live the life of the jet setters, and I mean, at least so people think, right? I mean, it's not.
great.
We sell dreams, we sell travel, which is great. It's not so great in the last couple of weeks. Of course, it's been for everyone. It's been difficult, but I guess it's a time where everything is halted. It's where staff is being furloughed. It's standstill. So, in your opinion, as of now, what could agencies do? I mean, from a marketing standpoint, should they, do they just wait at home? And I mean, last week, I don't know if you caught on with Ming. We were talking about some of the travel agents can do to stay on par with what's happening in the cruise industry. But from your point of view, what can agencies do at this point in time during the pandemic?
Well, it's a question I get from so many of my customers. How do I market when there's nobody buying? Like, should I even be doing anything? Well,
Hmm.
here's the thing. The ones that show up will have a business to go back to. The ones that take this time off are going to have a much bigger, much higher uphill struggle to get there.
Hmm.
Oh, is that feedback on your side or mine?
No, there was a bit of a small glitch there, but it's okay. Yeah,
Oh,
we're hearing you well.
okay. So yeah, so right now it's sorry, my dog came to join. So
Bring it in the call. That's what we're all used to this by now.
she's a big German Shepherd. So if you see me moving, it's because I'm trying to hold her down from jumping in.
Hey, you could bring it into the camera. It's going to get us a lot more engagement, a lot more views, because that's what it's all
there,
about, right? There, oh, there
there we
you
go.
go.
Yeah. So yeah, but this is the real world of working from home, which so many people are now faced with, is all these interruptions. But the thing is that you need to be marketing to them. Marketing and selling are two very different things. In the current environment, you're not looking to make a sale. You're looking to build a connection.
Hmm.
You're looking to create conversation. You're looking to do things that are going to keep you at the front of mind. I don't know if any of you have had a look, but because again, this is kind of what I geek out on. If you look at the big online travel agencies, the big ones, Expedia, all those, I think Expedia only has 2 or 3 posts in all of April so far. They had a happy Easter and we're sorry we screwed up. This is your opportunity to be in front of it. Right now, a lot of people don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. That's okay. Tell them that. Say, you know what, this is really awkward. Because normally I'd be telling you about this, that, or the other, but instead we're all at home. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to look at the news anymore. So how about we talk about some of our best memories? I'm going to start sharing some of my favorite memories. You share yours in the comment. Here's a picture from the time I did this. Here's the picture from the time I did that. What's your favorite one? Give them something to talk about. What was your best beach vacation? What was your best this, that, or the other? What is on your bucket list? Because here's the thing. I'm at home. I'm going to be really sick of looking at these walls very soon. I think that's why the paint stores are like doing gangbuster sales right now.
Yeah.
Because people are like, no, I'm not looking at these anymore. Even on my own social feeds, I'm sharing my Insta stories, a year ago from now, I was on a river cruise on the castles along the Rhine. I was doing this, I was doing that. And people are like, oh my goodness, the first thing I'm doing when this is over is I'm booking a trip and getting out of here.
And funny you should mention that, because I actually saw, and I think it was a travel agent that posted a couple of days ago, let's all dream together. Confinement ends tomorrow. What's your first destination you go to?
Right?
Man, people would just kicked in big time, right? So it's steering the conversation. Now, do you think in that context, there are any platforms that are more preferable than others? Like, should it be more Instagram, Facebook, newsletters, website?
So I have a couple of thoughts on that. The first one is, in terms of the social platforms, it depends where your ideal customer is hanging out.
Yes.
Because, I could say Facebook, but if your ideal customer is hanging out on Instagram, double down on Instagram. But if none of your people are on Instagram, they're over on Twitter, then you need to be on Twitter. It's a matter of knowing where your own agency's individual customers are hanging out and doubling down. And right now, these platforms are giving great exposure. If you do have even $1 or $2 a day, the Facebook ads, Instagram ads, the price per ad has dropped significantly right now because those big ones aren't in the game right now. But it's all about staying front of mind, because like we were just saying, the first thing people want to do when they're out of here, sorry, all the noises are the dog, I swear.
Is that your stomach? Are you hungry?
No, she's like, oh, you're out of your office. I'm here to play. But the thing is that, people want to go somewhere. So you need to be the first person they think of. Because there's this really big misunderstanding with a lot of businesses. And again, I work with brick and mortar and home base. I work with travel. And I also just work with those that you're going to find on Main Street type thing. There's a lot of businesses that are like, you know what, fine. I guess I'm off work for the next 6 weeks. Or they all started off as 2 weeks. My husband with his job, they're talking 4 months, possibly 5. As somebody said, when the government comes out with a 4-month package, we need to be aware that they already know it's 4 months. And you can't fade away for 4 months and then pop back up and say, okay, sun's shining again. Let's go, everybody. They'll be like, where were you? They want you to empathize with them right now. They want you to understand what they're going through. And so some of the conversations you could be having right now that are not sales is, what would you want to see a cruise line do in order to get you to sail with them again? What do you think that's going to look like? I was actually just on a coaching call with some travel professionals just before we started this, and they were talking about whether or not we foresee people having to wear masks on a ship. Is that something that's going to be a reality? And I thought, oh goodness, I hope not, but maybe that is. And so it's having those conversations. And I understand that a lot of the business development managers are on layoff and furlough as well, but perhaps there is still some, and that's going to be a matter of having a conversation to see who's still out there. But maybe create a coffee chat. Do something similar to what you and I are doing. Do a 15-minute call on your own Facebook page and say, hey, you know what? I know that you guys are concerned about safety when you cruise. I know you're concerned about safety when you go to the Vatican. These are what some of my favorite suppliers are going to be doing to ensure your safety when this is all over. Yeah, because we will travel again.
And you're right. And this downtime for many people is a good time to sort of update your transactional site or the tools you're using, or even doing a lot of webinars and educational stuff. And I actually see some travel agents doing it, not many, but more I think could do that. Hey, this morning I was just doing a specialist on the destination of Jamaica or on cruise lining, or so that you're sort of showing your clients from today and the next future ones perhaps that you're an expert, you're maintaining your status as an expert by educating yourself. So you think this is also one way to get some content on the different social platforms?
Absolutely. Right now, it's all about edutainment. How can you educate your audience and entertain them at the same time? And so there's a number of different things that you can do. You can share recipes. I don't know if you've seen Uniworld's Facebook page, but they're slaying it right now. They're posting, they're like, we know you can't travel with us right now, but we still want to give you a little taste. Here's our chef's favorite recipes. I was so excited because when we sailed them last year, they gave you recipe cards. The French onion soup wasn't in it. One of the first ones I saw was the French onion soup. So now I am on there like all the time looking to see what the next recipe card's going to be, because I'm like, okay. And then I give it to my husband. I'm like, hey, I have an idea. I'm going to go work. You're at home now, so you could make this for supper. So, but I don't know if you've seen or not. So like some of them are doing cooking shows. Joel from Kentucky in Alberta did a Thai cooking class. It was really fantastic. It was awesome. But, it doesn't have to be high production. I've actually done, I've done a few Facebook Lives on my own page, and I deliberately did it kind of without hair and makeup. It's not because I'm lazy, although this took a lot longer than it normally does. But the thing is it was because I wanted to get some of my audience used to seeing people without hair and makeup done, so that you can just jump on a live and just do it. You do not have to have all the lights and all the production and everything else. You just need to get on and get a conversation
and you're
started.
Touching on an interesting point here, is that the content doesn't have to be travel related. I mean, we're human, first and foremost. And that gentleman sharing Thai cooking recipes, or I've seen like hotels recently from the Fairmont properties, they caught, their cooking brigade came in and they cooked, like I said, Chateau Frontenac in Quebec. They got 80,000 meals they prepared for the needy in the city. And it's like, that's got nothing to do with the hotel itself, but I mean, it's in times of need, and it's like, wow, and so they're publishing stuff, they're out there. And it's also a matter with the algorithms, right? Because on Facebook and Instagram, if you stay silent for like a month or 2 months, then man, when you're going to come back, you're uphill battle, right?
Yeah, it's crickets. And that's just it. It's creating those conversations. It's edutaining people. It's keeping them entertained. It's giving them something other than CNN or, press briefings and things like that, because we can only handle so much of that. It's keeping the conversation going. Now, a great idea that I heard, a friend of mine, we were working on some ideas, do a trivia contest.
Trivia contest?
Or a trivia night. So way she really up-leveled it is, if you serve families, for example, go into the Mommy and Me groups and reach out to the admin and say, hey, I would really like to put on a family trivia night in your group, 0 pitch. It'll all be travel related, and just gear it towards the age of the kids that are in there, so that the families gather around. And who are they looking at? They're looking at you. Just like we're all having trouble trying to come up with content, so are your local community organizations. My mom's seniors group, they post every 2 weeks, still closed, miss you, we'll update later. What if a travel professional reached out and said, hey, I know you guys aren't getting together, you're not doing this, that, or the other. Would you be open to letting me do a Facebook Live on your feed, 0 pitch, other than the fact I'm going to introduce myself and I'm going to talk travel, but I just want to put together a slideshow that I'm going to play and talk about where I've been. Again, 0 pitch. I just want to let people dream of something and give them something to watch. They're going to be, oh my goodness, you're going to give us content for free that we don't have to do anything for?
And that's a great idea, because a couple of weeks down the road, when people start thinking about maybe traveling, you're like, oh, remember that girl that came into that discussion?
Right.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'll remind people that are listening to us, and there's quite a few, that you're welcome to ask questions. Also refer to paxnews.com. where we have constantly updated information on what's going on with the destinations, with the industry. And we actually got a question from someone that was sent to Michael in Toronto, who asked, how can the agents use this pause, this moment we have now, to their advantage, but also to tap into new clientele? I think you just alluded to that with the discussion group, but any other ways that we can get creative?
Well, here's something that's really important for everybody to be aware of. Clients aren't as loyal as we think they are. Clients are habitual. They do things out of habit. So because they've always come to you, doesn't mean after this that they will. There's a lot of businesses, a lot of industries where the customers are like, this just might be my escape, my way out. So that's why you want to reach out to your own customers, but you want to be creating something fresh. You want to be showing up. You want to do these trivia contests, do the recipes. Friday night, do a cocktail hour. How many of us would love to be on a beach in Mexico right now, mixing up a margarita? Let's do a margarita making class. It's going to, when you edutain them, instead of selling them, they're going to share you. They're going to make sure their friends see this. And let's be honest, we all know a blooper, like an authentic blooper, is going to get you more reach than anything else. So perfection is not required. And that's what you want to be looking at. There's two types of traffic. There's the traffic you buy your way into and the traffic you work your way into. So you want to make sure you're doubling down on that traffic that you're working your way into by creating content. Again, not high level, top professional. You just want to create something that's going to entertain. And when you do that, you're also going to mix in some of your own expertise. You're going to let people know why you should be the preferred choice. And the fact that you don't charge service fees is not a preferred choice.
Right.
What is it that actually sets you apart? So that would be a couple of things you could do right now. Really figure out, what do you do that nobody else does? What do you do better than anybody else does? What sets you apart so that you can market that? And whether you're a travel professional on the front line or you're the agency owner, these are questions you both need to be able to answer. And once you have that, that's when you're going to make your play for the other people's customers who, quite frankly, put their office hours to closed and put up a post that said, we're not dealing with customers right now. Those are the customers that are up for grabs, because when those agency owners decide that they're going to reopen in 3 months or 2 months or, hopefully a couple weeks, those customers are already going to think you bit the dust, just like some of the other stores in town. So being very clear on the message you're putting out is really, really key.
It's interesting because what you're saying is essentially we need to get back to the storytelling part, and the storytelling.
Yes.
What's unique about you is you, right? We often say that, we're all travel agencies. We're all selling often destinations where people get married to, or cruises or whichever. But you said it before. Is it the cooking you did, or the slideshow you prepared? And I remember last year when I did a roadshow with Transat Group, we went to different areas of the country, and we were talking about that. And the reflex for many folks on Facebook, Instagram, and social platforms mostly is we're always in a salesy, sales. And that's okay. I mean, it's understandable. It's what we do. We want to get the commissions. We want to sell. But at the end of the day, especially right now, people want to know: are you relatable? Are you an authority in what is it that you sell? So if you're someone that says you're specialized in wedding planning or destinations or European cruises, then I expect that you're doing training on that, or you're sharing. But not just that, as you said, we also need to sort of, who's the human, who's the guy or the girl behind, and what strikes your interest on a daily basis, especially now because we're confined. We're going to be confined for a couple of weeks more, so we might as well come up with content that resonates, right, with your potential clients.
Yeah. And it's funny that you were just talking about the wedding, because an idea just popped in my head. So wedding industry as a whole is crashed as well. So why not reach out to your local florist and say, why don't we collaborate? Why don't we do a live on each of our pages? I'll talk about honeymoon dreaming, and you can talk about what the process is of picking your flowers. So that these are some of the consultation questions we're going to get out of the way, because nobody's doing consultations right now. So we're just going to get that out of the way. And we're going to edutain people again. We're going to give them something to look at. We're going to give them something to entertain them, but also something that's going to educate them. And you're going to handle some of those objections. You're going to handle some of those problems. It's a matter of looking at who is your customer and what are those problems that they're facing. Now, the stresses and problems they're facing today are very different than they were 5 or 6 weeks ago. If you are in the family travel business, 5 or 6 weeks ago, it was just about getting a break. Now it's like, holy smokes, somebody else needs to entertain my kids. Because remember 6 weeks ago, they're like, no, child's club isn't that important because we're going to spend all our time together. I guarantee you now they're like, oh no, it needs to be the best kids club ever because we need a break from each other.
Totally.
You know, and it's making sure you're staying front of mind of what are those stresses, how have things changed. But I also want to really emphasize, not everybody's unemployed.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody is without a paycheck. And in fact, especially if you're in a little bit of a higher end market, there's a very good chance a lot of your white collar clients still have their job. My husband works for the government. He's working from home. But
good luck with that.
But he's employed. But he's home. But the thing, actually, he's not today, or else he'd have the dog outside. But the thing is that he still has his income, and my income's not affected. So really and truly, we're in no different place than what we were. Actually, we might even come out a little bit better because we're not going to town to eat out all the time like we used to. We're not doing impulse shopping. The amount I'm saving by not doing my nails alone is going to pay for a trip pretty quick here. You know, there is people who are going to have money. So you need to keep the conversation going in that same vein, in that same thought. You can't control fear in your customers if you're filled with fear yourself. So whatever you're feeling on the inside, you need to be very mindful of what it is you're projecting. Instead, we need to be very clear on the fact that, yes, people are going to travel again.
Yeah.
People are 100% going to want to get out of here. They're going to want to explore. Is it going to look exactly the way it did on January 1st? Heck no, never will. But what does that look like? And you need the ones that are going to be successful are going to be the ones who get ahead of it, who create opportunity in this time. I was chatting with another business development manager the other day, and they were actually telling me their 2021 sales are higher than what their 2020 were this time last year. So people are actually still booking.
Yeah.
But a lot of travel agencies, like I said, they switch their office hours to closed, at least make them by appointment only, and they stop posting. So people aren't even going to try and do business with you. And because I deal with businesses outside of travel as well, pardon me, I just want to emphasize for the travel professionals who are at home, who are thinking about shopping and this, that, the other, check your own local retailers. Make sure that what you want to buy isn't available locally, that you can do a curbside pickup, because a lot of those people are your customers too. And if you become the king or queen of Amazon during the crisis, you can't be upset when Expedia takes back all their customers and some of yours.
Yeah, no,
you
totally.
need to make sure you're marketing and doing business the way you want people to do business with you as well.
And that's a good point, because we tend to forget that, but like on Facebook and on Instagram and places like that, you can interact as a page as well. So why don't you go as your page, as your travel counselor, or as your agency, interact with, as you said, the florist or the local retailer and say, oh, you know, great. And that those interactions and, you know, with a hashtag buy local or whatever might be popular in your area. And I think that's a tremendous way to get the ball rolling, and as you say, to have those people remember you, because you know you can't say, you know, you have to walk the talk. You have to say something, but you also have to do it yourself. There was a question here, and I'm just going to put it up, by Eric. He mentions, Frederick mentioned updating transactional site. Could you please elaborate?
Yes.
I'll give you my perspective on that, and I'll go to you, Glenda. What I meant by that when I said that is, in this downtime, it's a good time to work on your website. So updating content, putting new images, making sure it's up to par. There might be images where there's a lot of people together. Well, if the social distancing is still for the next year or so, maybe you want to change some of the images, maybe the images about the buffets. You know, you want to reconsider, work on that. But also, if you weren't transactional, or if you didn't have a lead page or a place where people can send in a request and you receive it and that wasn't already programmed, then you should be working on this downtime on these little tools on your website that can help you when we're out of the crisis, that you're up and running and you have things that, those things that you say, oh, I'll do that when I have time. Well, you have the time now. That was what I meant by that. Glenda, do you have more on that?
It's reading everything too on your website. I actually suggest starting with a different browser than what you normally work in, and Google your business name and see what comes up. Go through, see if you don't normally do in the Explorer, go into Explorer, use Bing and just see what comes up, because you might not remember some of the places that you've marketed in the past or that you have ongoing things. You want to make sure that you are totally on top of your message. Even for myself, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I've been on Facebook Lives. I'm like, you got to make sure your message is updated. Make sure this is updated. Make sure that's updated. And I had actually just rewritten my website copy in February. And I actually kind of forgot I had done that. And then I went to check my website to add something the other day. And I'm like, oh my goodness, because the first line on it was, if you don't get foot traffic through your door, your business is done. And I'm like, that's a little painful right now. And
yeah, it needs a little rewriting there today. Yeah.
Right? So we've changed a little bit. We've maybe added some resources right to the front of the website, because in February, that was a very good thing to say, because it was very true. In April, that's a gut punch to my potential ideal customer. And that's something that I did not want them to read, because I'm like, wow, that just would have finished some people. That would have just put them right over the edge. So it's little things like that. It's also, so reread every line. The other thing is there's a lot of us, and I know when I was in the travel industry, I doubled down on weddings. Then I got a couple years into it and I thought, no, I am not dealing with any more wedding groups because of this, that, or the other. But there's a lot of travel businesses that I talk to that they're like, oh, no, I would never do weddings. I'm like, then why is your website full of wedding photos? Why are you promoting this? Big question I get all the time is, oh, it's terrible. All I ever get is people who want sell-offs. I check their social media. All they ever posted was sell-offs. All their website was filled with sell-offs. This is your chance to figure out who you want to market to, what you want to market, what problems you want to solve, and what is the messages that go with it. And make sure that message is crystal clear across the top. And if the first words on your website, any paragraph starts with I, your paragraph needs rewritten. Your website is about your customer. It is not about you and your business. It is about how your customer is going to be served.
Glenda, you're also a business coach, so we've been talking a lot about marketing, and these are difficult times. I'd like to get your insights on how do we address staff morale in this time and age, because it's some companies are able to keep some of their staff, others are on technical layoff. I mean, what would be your insights on how we can address this issue, which is affecting many people, if not most?
For sure. So there's a couple of things with it. First one is, as much as you need to communicate with your audience, you need to remember that your staff is part of your audience. So you need to stay in communication with your staff. Second, this is your chance to take a really hard look at what staff are actually profitable. Because when this is over, we don't have the money we did going into it. And, there were some that were struggling going into it. I'm in Alberta. We've been struggling for a little while. This might be your opportunity to bow out with grace and make some cuts that needed to be done. But for those that you're going to keep, you absolutely got to keep the conversation going. Because again, they saw this Facebook page turn to closed. They saw that you're not taking customers. They see all of this. If a job opportunity comes up elsewhere and you're only communicating closed, why wouldn't they take a different job? And then the sad reality, and it's just a fact of life, if you're a travel professional and you're not an agency owner, let's be honest, you're looking at your opportunities, because you've now gone a couple of months. You're probably on EI if you were a salaried employee, things like that. You're on EI. So what would stop you, as we head back towards winter season, from starting your own at-home agency? from becoming an independent contractor. If you're a brick and mortar travel professional or agency owner and you're not in constant conversation with your staff, there's a lot of you who aren't going to have all your staff come back to you because they're going to venture out on their own. So you need to stay at the front of that. But you need to have those conversations. They need to know where you're headed. If you're just crumbling and going into depression, they're going to see that. That's not going to instill in them. They're looking for leaders. Now, I do want to touch a little bit on depression and grief. I chose to close my agency a couple of years ago, and it was 100% by choice, my choice. And it wasn't until last year, I was down in Denver at a conference, and Shalene Johnson was there. And I was having a conversation with her. She was the keynote. And we were talking about business. And I said, I closed this business and I'm really putting all my work into this one. And she goes, have you grieved it? And I said, what? She goes, have you grieved the loss of your business? And I said, but I chose to close it. And she goes, but have you grieved it? And when she said it the third time, the tears just came. And I looked at her and I said, what is this? She goes, we owned a multi-million-dollar company that we couldn't wait to sell. And the moment it sold, I went into a depression. She goes, and it was actually a friend of hers that said, you need to go to grief counseling. So she went to a grief counselor and she worked through it. And she said, it is actually an actual grieving process. Here's the thing. In both of those cases, we chose to close our businesses or sell them or, we still grieved the loss, because when you go into business, you have a dream, you have a vision. There is a lot of business owners right now who are having a scenario forced upon them. And yes, we all went through SARS, we've done 9/11, things like that. We're like, this too shall pass. Measure. This isn't looking the same. And there's a lot of business owners who weren't around back then. But the thing is that what you're going through is natural. It's grief. You need to understand that it's grief, and it's not just you losing your mind. And I strongly encourage you to reach out to somebody, reach out to the mental health line, reach out to support services, because you're not going to get your business back on track if you're trapped inside of that grief bubble. And it's nothing to say negative about you. This is where you're at. If you're an employee or an independent contractor, or quite frankly, if you're a business development manager, there's a very good chance you're going through your own set of grief. It's okay. Know that this is a possibility, and this is healthy. It's not healthy, but it's normal. And reach out for help. And if people want, shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'd be happy to talk with you about it. I went through it. It was a hard process. And like I said, I chose to close my business like this. I even remember when I was speaking at Travel Marketplace last February, Shauna from Alma Waterway, she's like, you up and retired. I'm like, I what? She's like, you retired from the industry. And I'm like, I did. Like, it just, it hadn't occurred to me that way.
Yeah. And I think Premier Trudeau summarized it well when he said, it's not your fault. And he says about the uninsurance programs that they've put in place and the urgency funds. I mean, it's not anyone's fault, right? And I mean, we could go on. Of course, thanks for those insights. I know we're well over the 30-minute mark, and I know we try to keep it. And there's been comments and whatnot. And I did want to highlight one here. Just Barry mentions here. He asked a question. Actually, is this going to be recorded? Great content I would like to share with my consultants. Yes, Barry. In fact, right after this, we turn off the live here. It will remain on PAX, and we will be sharing it on paxnews.com, which of course we invite you to consult on a daily basis. And I'm going to take your segue from your comment there, Glenda, and ask Michael, who I know is managing, who's on the page right now, to perhaps put in some links for any health assistance or calls, 1-800 numbers that might be useful, because it is a difficult time, and I think we all need the help. And if we don't need the help, that's great. But for those who may want to talk to someone and share some insights, or just be heard, and there's a couple of comments there as well. But look, Glenda, this has been great. Thank you very much for this conversation. And I really, I hope things keep going well. You seem to be saying they were going well, so keep it up. And to all the folks listening up, we have a great program next week as well. You'll have more details on paxnews.com, either the website or the daily bulletin. So on that, I bid you farewell. Cheers all. Bye-bye.